Before we get started, I just want to focus on our own company and kind of explain the situation. You might have seen this slide before. We are part of the manufacturing intelligence division within Hexagon. We have three areas of products in our portfolio. One is what we call design and engineering. This is where most of our simulation products that you saw earlier in the presentation reside. We have a portfolio of production software. This is where we have our CAM technologies and ways to simulate manufacturing processes. And then finally, we have our large portfolio in metrology and inspection area, which is inclusive of both hardware and software. Well, one of the most common requests we've been getting from our customers for several years is why don't we connect all these things? Why don't we create something that helps us connect the technologies that we own, even within Hexagon, and then create more value for the customers by putting them together and by connecting these technologies so that the data can be shared. The reason we get this request from customers, most common, is because our customers are also dealing with the same situation. They have their own silos of information. If you look at it on the right-hand side, there is a design function. Most of the discrete manufacturers, their design function is responsible for creating product designs and simulations and engineering analysis. Something that then the production silo will take over and then be responsible for manufacturing of that particular part, assembling the product. And then finally, the quality of the inspection team will take over to make sure that the outcome of that production process is in line with what the designer wanted to create. So if you look at this today, this is obviously a small portion of the entire product development process, but there is tremendous amount of data that gets created in each of the steps. Yet the data gets locked in its own site. The design engineers can probably access the data within design, but it's very hard for them to understand quality detection. Same thing with production. If they want to access data from design, it's not easy because of these traditional silos that the companies have built. To validate this, we recently conducted a survey with several hundred customers working with third-party analysts. And this is some of the outcomes that we received from the survey. One, outstanding 98% customers of the ones that responded to the survey said that they struggle with data. They have quite a lot of information within their organizations and they do not face the issue working with that data locked down. About 77% of those customers said that they don't even have an effective technology where they can use that technology to share data. On the flip side, almost 88% of the customers said that if they are able to share that data, if they can easily make the data accessible across the chain of the product lifecycle, there is almost a significant improvement in quality. Similarly, a large population also said that sharing that data with the right team reduces the time to market, which is one of the biggest issues that customers. So, if we look at this section of a product life cycle or product life cycle, we have three stages: design, make, and implement. Right? And essentially, what the customers are looking for is something that loops around these stages and almost like a thread that connects or that allows them to connect the data that is created between these stages. And that's exactly what Nexus comes in. So, what is Nexus? It's an open platform for manufacturers that connects people, technology, and data to establish connectivity and collaboration. That's the definition of Nexus. We're going to see some examples of what that means and how actually Nexus helps organizations share that data. The other important part of Nexus is the open platform, right? It says it's an open platform. I would show it. It also means that it is not just restricted to Hexagon. Yes, Hexagon is definitely one of the constituents of this ecosystem, if you will. We are the first ones to take this platform and build some new applications and solutions to bring them to the market. At the same time, we're working closely with our partners We're looking to build a system of partners that are also taking their technologies and connect with Nexus. We're working with system integrators that can take like Nexus into new dimensions, into new industries. And most importantly, we're working with manufacturers customers like yourself because you are the ultimate user of all this work that we're doing with our partners, with our integrators, and within our R&D. So it's really an ecosystem of a different constituents that help you use this platform for connectivity and collaboration within your organization. One of the very common questions I get from whenever I present Nexus is Nexus a PLM system or is Nexus a replacement with PLM system or a ERP system? And the answer is no. The reason for that is if we look at this chart simply, just look at the horizontal dimension there. There is a dimension of all the control. In traditional business systems, the enterprise systems is what we will like to call them system operators. They are meant to provide very tight control on data. Take PLM as an example. PLM is used by engineers to store their inward engineering designs. It is always ensure that the right people have access, that every change to the data is tracked, what change history, so that you can establish the traceability of how the data and designs. And that's the function of PLM. Same thing with MES, same thing with the app. These systems have been designed to do their job. They will continue to do their job. Nexus, on the other hand, is completely opposite in terms of it's a real-time collaboration tool where think of it as system of engagement. So we like to call Nexus system of engagement. What does that mean? Is that it complements all the existing products that you really are using today, but then it establishes the way for teams, the users and collaborate with the rest of the organization. So think of it as a complementary system to all the products and to all the enterprise systems that we're using today. In terms of the next portfolio, it's a very, very simple portfolio when we talk about all these components here. But underlying is a technology platform we have developed. This technology platform has rich APIs and with rich interfaces. Anyone can use. As I mentioned, it's an open platform. So it's being used by Hexagon R&D. Same time, we are working with partners who are also using this platform, as well as the integrators who are using this platform. On this platform, what can it do? One is there is a set of applications that are being developed, and we have close to 20 applications that are commercially ready that are in different areas. I'll show a brief slide, and in the later afternoon presentation, I'm going to some of these applications that are very task-centric, purpose-built for users. So there is a set of new modern cloud applications that we have built that will help you solve a very particular problem in a modern way, leveraging all the newer technologies like AI and visualization. But the other important role of Nexus is this ability to create the workplace solutions. And what that means is taking any process, whether it's your manufacturing process, whether it's your it could be a common process in industry, and really taking different data and string them together, which is what we call connected workflow solution. And what that really allows you to do is now take the different technologies that are being used in the different members and now create a thread, digital thread across all of them so that the data from one team, one product can be easily made accessible to anyone else who needs this along the chain. So again, we'll see some examples here, both for package solutions. So here you see just the snippets of applications that we have commercially launched. Most of these are ready for you if you want to use them. Today we won't have time in this session to go through each and every app. Some of them, as I mentioned in the later presentation today. But if you look at it, we have these applications created for different end personas, whether it's a designer, whether it's a production engineer, whether it's a quality engineer. But at the heart of it, each and every app has the same theme, connectivity and collaboration. Not only they make it easier for that persona to do their job with these new apps, but it also makes it easier for that person to share now the data outcome that they want to share with the rest of the teams through these new applications, because this is all based on this Nexus platform, which is a single common platform, the entire data. The other aspect of Nexus, as I mentioned, is the connected workflow. Right? In this case, we're just showing an example here. It can be any illustrative process in the manufacturing. In this case, we did the reverse engineering process. Again, this is typically where you will start with an existing part and then you will go through the entire process. Again, if you look at the three main tenets of the product development, where someone has to design this, someone has to analyze this, someone's going to have to plan for its production, how it's going to be manufactured, and then someone has to think about it from the quality perspective. Typically, we'll see the same issue with the cycle. Design engineers will do their job, and at some point, release to manufacturing engineers will do their job, at some point, release to quality, and then the quality will do their job. Each of them remaining in own different cycle. That's how the process is. With Nexus, with that ring that goes inside, the idea here is that there is that system of engagement that sits, that is accessible to these functions, where they can send the data when they need it, as they need it, so that the same data that is created by this 3D catalog, the engineering design, can now be accessed by the production engineer to create a process plan. If something changes on the design side, they can easily incorporate these changes in their the information that is created by design can also be shared with quality so that they can start with inspection planning way earlier than the person finish their whole part that is being manufactured on the machine. Same thing from the design, quality design. Design engineer rarely get insights into the quality, what's happening on the shop floor, the design working, what are the issues. If there are issues, they will be able to quality. Otherwise, it will be difficult to get data and understand of what's happening on the quality, how the parts being produced, where are the deviations, and how do I get a meaningful, easy way to understand. So if you look at it, this is kind of a closed loop cycle between design and quality, with the Nexus enabling that closed loop and enabling the data flow easily. Now, if we look at this, there are different steps in the process. We can use the data from taking that mesh data, creating full fidelity 3D design out of it. From there, you want to analyze the design, you review the design with some of the stakeholders. Then you want to have the manufacturing process planners think about how that's going to be manufactured on the machine. And then we have finally the inspection person who's going to have to measure that and then provide the outcome of measurement over to the design and specification. The idea here is that we're talking about the solution makes its ability to connect different points along the process here. If I just highlight on the next section here, these are different products. Right? Again, keep in mind that every step in this process is conducted by different team members, specialists within the organization. They might use some tools and technologies that are very specialized. Yeah. In most cases, we see that they are technologies that are different. As much as we would like everything to be Hexagon, we understand and appreciate that most have this. And this is exactly where the openness is. This is some of the products here that are Hexagon. In this workflow, Nexus allows them to do is no matter what they're using, they can continue to use their product or job that they are doing, but now with the connectivity to Nexus, the entire data flow is established so that the person who is scanning the part can have the same scan data go to the design engineer. The design engineer who's finished his 3D model, the same model is shared with the production person or with the quality person. They can create their respective data from that. So that's really the idea. But the more important thing is whether it's Hexagon technology, whether it's non-Hexagon technology. Again, we look at typical customer landscape on the IT side, we will see that some products it doesn't really matter. Nexus is an open platform. We're connected into any technology that is really part of it. Any technology that can share data and can accept data can be connected to Nexus. That's really the evolved. As I mentioned, this is one example of what we're just think of different enable this connectivity and allowing different team members to collaborate and go through this process. All right, so what is Nexus really enable? So the first is the digitalization, which is the first step that's most of the where most of this is where taking advantage of the digital data. As I mentioned, in most cases, customers have digital data that is getting created in different. The first step is how do we take advantage of that data? How we start. The second stage is insight, which is where now that the data is connected, how can you do more informed decisions? How can you do data-driven decisions? Because now you have more data, not only from one area inside. Now you have more data coming from different sides. What kind of insights can you get from it? And how can you use those insights to make more informed decisions? And finally, which is really the vision of Hexagon and number of manufacturers is the account. How do you have this rich data set we use the insights to drive decisions for you that can make informed decisions for you, make some recommendations based on the history, based on the understanding of that data, which is otherwise impossible to do if you don't have that data synthesized in proper manner. So that's really what the journey of Nexus is about to do. With just connecting the data to using that data, some insights for you and help you make better decisions to the ultimate north star, having the data create decisions for you or guide you with those decisions, which is really the autonomy that we're looking. As I mentioned, this is not possible just for Nexus. The Nexus is an open platform, which means we're going to need support from a lot of partners as we mature with Nexus. Two of the key partners that we're working very closely with when it comes to Nexus, one is Microsoft, the other one is the NVIDIA. And these two partners are very strategic Hexagon and to Nexus partners. So let's just dive into what exactly we're doing with each of them. So this is the first example, Microsoft. And as you can see here on the next slide, the entire Nexus slide is actually based on the Microsoft. What that means is we are using Microsoft as a foundation to host Nexus. So the platform is based on Microsoft. Second thing, where the area of collaboration, number of you are familiar with Microsoft Teams and the kind of collaboration that you see, which is really based on what we call with frameworks, which is the technology that they have established to drive collaboration in teams. It's the same components that we are using within Nexus to drive collaboration within engineering. There's a lot of that similarity between how different team members need to talk to each other, need to collaborate using something like Microsoft Teams. We are trying to replicate that within the context of engineering, where now you can engineering and manufacturing, where you can have the same type of collaboration, the ease of collaboration with that. So we have kind of three main areas where we are right now focused on. There is a big strategy program for us with Microsoft. But the first one is what we call the compute on demand, which is some of the solvers that you are very familiar with, Nastran, Action, and Cradle. These solvers now are available on the cloud via Nexus. What that means is to get you an access to the on-demand capacity of the cloud capacity as you need and only the capacity that you can use when you need it. So that's one example of how bringing together our technology with solvers and Nexus and the technology from Microsoft, flexible on-demand scaling resources. The other is to use their AI technologies within our technologies, which is our production side. This is where we are exploring ideas like, how do we help users, especially as we see the workforce declining. How do we see the younger generation, the next level of workforce, make it more interactive? Can to provide more guidance to what one is next step need to be done. And the last one is the 3D video collaboration, which is one of the applications that actually we have enabled right within Microsoft Teams. This application is for design reviews. Anyone can bring in, launch, even any of you who use Microsoft Teams today, or can go on Nexus and launch this application, bring in a 3D model, invite the users, and in the same station, collaborate on that 3D visual model rather than having to email data back and forth, or rather than having to kind of do this in an ad hoc manner. So those are the three main areas that we're working with Microsoft today. When it comes to NVIDIA, a lot more focus goes on visualization. As you can see here on the left-hand side is really where the Hexagon is bringing their IP and their data. And on the right-hand side is where NVIDIA is bringing their data to Omniverse. So the idea here is that you have some data that can be created and captured through the digital tools within the manufacturing intelligence. Those are mostly in the you can get as much data that you need that can be collected from the part level. On the other hand, we also have other divisions within Hexagon, scanners that can do a large scale data reality capture. And they can provide a much more realistic view and capture it would look like, a machine digital twin would look like, how does the environment around it look like. So with those two inputs, we can now merge them together and see a much more photorealistic rendering and understanding using the Omniverse AI technologies on exactly how the manufacturing process will work. There's a number of use cases, including worker safety and others that enable through this kind of scenario. Because now you have data that's not only from the part level, but surrounding machine, the factory, the other fixtures, the elements that may be around that. So that's really what we're exploring right now with Microsoft. We leverage the rich visualization that we can bring in not only from within manufacturing intelligence, but also from within the rest of the divisions within Hexagon. Bring it all together in one environment, video Omniverse, deliver that user experience and user insights to the users that they're looking to get. All right, so that brings me really towards the end of my. The purpose of this session is to primarily introduce Nexus. Again, we have another session later in the afternoon where I'll talk about it in a little more detail. These two things that I want you to remember. One, Nexus is a connectivity platform. It's a collaboration platform. So you know that. Second thing I want you to remember. Second thing is I really want you to think about how you can innovate beyond. Go back to your own companies, go back to your own situations and see what kind of data silos, where do you have problems taking data from one place to the other within your process. Like, what kind of roadblocks and challenges that lack of data sharing is causing, and what is the business impact you have. And really, that's essentially what takes it. We had our that was in three different stages, and with Nexus, we are now connecting it all together. I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing about Nexus. Wait, I can go side, beyond side. And lastly, my last talk here is final for Nexus. It's free. It doesn't really cost anything. It's a website called Nexus for Hexagon.com. You can scan this QR code and we take it there. What you will see is what we call a portal, which is completely localized for this region as well. So you can browse and understand information. Besides the Nexus applications that I showed you and what is Nexus, there is a lot more information even about the existing products that you're using today. Things like documentation and support and community forums, everything will be consolidated. One place we go. So my ask of everyone, please sign up and explore Nexus for yourself. And thank you.